Welcome to the maiden lesson on functions. In this lesson, we shall look at the introduction to functions. What are some of the objectives that will be covered in this lesson? The first is to understand functions, and then we shall also evaluate some functions. So let's get started. What is the idea of a function? Think of a function as a machine. So there is going to be an input, okay? That is what you will put into the machine, okay? Then we have the machine called the function, all right? And then we have the output, what comes out of it. So think of a popcorn machine. You put a corn into the machine and then you get a popcorn, all right? So the popcorn machine is the function, the corn is the input, and then the popcorn is the output. Let's transform this idea into mathematical function. So this is an example. F of x is defined as x squared when x is even and x plus 1 when x is odd. Okay, so let's see. If we have an input of say 2, okay, if we have an input of 2, then you ask yourself, what is 2? Is it even or odd? So 2 is even. Since 2 is even, then we will use this part of the machine or the function, okay? So it says that square the input, all right? So our input, which is 2, when we square, we have an output of 4. Let's take another example. When x is 5, okay, when your new input is 5, what happens? You consider, is 5 even or odd? Okay, 5 is odd. Since 5 is odd, then we will use this part of the function, okay? That is add 1 to the input. So 5 plus 1, and it is giving us an output of 6. So whenever you see a function which is 2 in 1, look at the definition. It says x if it is what? Even, okay? So it means you use this part. And then the second part, we use it when the number or the input you have is what? Is odd, okay? Let's consider another example. Given that g of k is equal to k squared plus 5, you are to evaluate g of 3 and then you will evaluate g of half. All right, so at this point, the first one we saw f of x, and this is g of k. That should tell you that functions can take any alphabet. It's not supposed to be only f, all right, and the input is not supposed to be only x. It could be k, it could be any other thing. So let's see the solution to g of 3. All right, so g of 3, we are told that the input is what? 3, okay? So we are going to put 3 in place of k. So there's a k here, we put that 3 there. It's a k squared, so we put the 3 there and we square it as well. So 3 squared gives us 9 plus 5, giving what? 14. So an input of 3 gives you an output of 14, okay? All right. How about g of half? So g of half also follows the same. We are putting into this function, so it follows the same thing. We have half squared plus 5. Now half squared will give you 1 over 4 plus 5 will give you 5 whole number, 1 over 4. So an input of 5 produces an output of 5 whole number, 1 over 4. All right, so I want you to take a minute and solve this, after which you can compare your answer with our answer. So this is the question. Given that h of x is equal to 7 minus 2x, find h of 4. Okay, so now you have an input of 4. You have to find the output. Okay, so let's check the answer. So h of 4 All right, so our input is now 4. We put 4 in place of x. Okay, so we have it here, and then 2 times 4 will give you 8. So we have 7 minus 8 giving us -1. Okay, I hope you got -1 as your answer. All right, so this is the end of our lesson. This is an introductory lesson, so it's very short. But what shall we look forward to in our next lesson? In our next lesson, we'll be talking about the range of a function given the domain. Okay, so we shall look at 2 types of functions. We shall look at linear functions and non-linear functions.